Shares of Moderna getting another boost today, and some big headlines surrounding its COVID vaccine. Meg Terrell joins us with the details. Hey, Meg.
Hey, Melissa. So we've been talking, of course, a lot about these new variants of concern from around the world and wondering whether our vaccines will work against them. There's, of course, the one from the UK known as B.1.1.7, the one associated with South Africa, which is B.1.351. That one in particular, along with one from Brazil known as P.1, have been particularly concerning for how well the vaccines will work. Now, Moderna putting out a statement this morning and posting a paper to a preprint, not peer-reviewed server, essentially saying that the vaccines appear to protect against those strains, and for the B.1.1.7 in particular at the same level as for other strains. Six-fold lower neutralizing titers for the B.1.351 variant, the one associated with South Africa, which sounds really bad, but they say they still expect the vaccine to protect at that level. However, they are going to test both a booster shot of the original vaccine and develop a new vaccine targeting that particular strain to see if that helps with the level of immunity. We talked with Stefan Bancel, the CEO of Moderna, this morning about this approach. Here's what he said.
What is unknowable right now is what will happen in 6 months, in 12 months, especially to the elderly, because as you know, they have a weaker immune system and the immunity might go down over time. And because of that unknown, and Moderna wants to always stay at the forefront of the fight against COVID-19, we decided to take into the clinic, out of an abundance of caution, a new vaccine called mRNA-1273.351 for the South Africa strain that we're going to be testing in the clinic very quickly.
So he's talking about this, Melissa, like a market that could resemble the flu shot market, where we would have to update these vaccines every year and people would have to get these booster shots every year. And that's why you're probably seeing Moderna's stock up 12%. This looks like a recurring revenue stream. Mel.
Meg, thank you. Meg Terrell. Guy Dami, we've had some bearish analysts on Moderna in the past, and they have talked about this being, if this is a one-shot, excuse the pun, kind of deal, then that's it. You get the shot in the arm and you're off and have a nice life. But here, if we're talking about a booster, that could be some very good news in terms of the revenue, as Megan mentioned.
No question about it. Karen's talked about this for a while, the difference between Pfizer and Moderna in terms of monetizing on the Moderna side, not necessarily with Pfizer. I think we had the Jefferies analyst on, and even on his downgrade, I think he had a $140 price target, and that's basically where we closed today. I mean, the stock did everything it needed to do on the downside. If you look, I think it traded down to almost 98, 100 a few weeks ago. Now it's bouncing, probably continues to grind into earnings. But what we have said and been steadfast on is the fact if you're not comfortable in single stocks, the IBB is a place to be. And look at it, I think it made another all-time high today. Then you have certain names. I know Tim talks about this. Johnson & Johnson, all-time high today. Medtronic trading up to close to that prior all-time high. So there are names that still make sense if you're not inclined to get into the Moderna Pfizer sweepstakes.
Would you rather, Pete? And this involves 3 options, so please listen. Johnson & Johnson, Pfizer, or Moderna?
And I only get to pick one, Mel? Is that right?
Yes, that's the way it goes.
Please listen, Pete.
All right, this go around, I'll take J&J. But the reason I asked that question is I own both Pfizer and J&J. I most recently bought J&J just in the last week or two.
Sorry, got to interrupt. We've got some breaking news. We want to go back to Meg Terrell. Meg.
Well, Melissa, talk about timing. I mean, we just showed you those 3 different variants people are concerned about, P1 being the one from Brazil. The Minnesota Department of Health now saying they have confirmed the first case of that P1 variant in a traveler from Brazil here in the United States. Now, that is the first case of this variant that we have heard about here in the U.S. And folks have said that just because we haven't found these yet doesn't mean that they are not here. Both P1 and B.1.351, the one associated with South Africa, our surveillance system just isn't very good. But they did actually catch this by doing surveillance of samples there in Minnesota. So the first case of P1, the Brazilian variant here in the U.S., it has a lot of similarities to that South African variant. And so we'll bring you more when we know about it. But this just coming out from Minnesota now, Melissa, 1 case. And we know of the UK variant, multiple cases across multiple states. But this is the first one of the Brazilian one.
This sounds pretty scary, Meg. But I mean, the fact of the matter is there could be many, many variants that we don't even know about because we're simply not doing the sequencing right now.
Yeah, the U.S. is something like 42nd in the world in terms of the amount of sequencing we are doing of the virus samples. So a key proponent of the Biden administration's plan on COVID has been to increase that sequencing surveillance, and obviously hoping that's getting up and running pretty quickly now.
42nd in the world. Wow. Meg, thank you. Meg Terrell. Pete, I'm sorry I cut you off. You were going to say J&J, but if you had the ability to choose two, I think you're going to say what? J&J and
I own Pfizer.
Yeah.
You know, I look at Moderna. I think it's a great company, Mel. I think they're doing so much great work right now, potentially with these vaccines and the ability to be able to shift and move and pivot into other directions to go after something else, a different strain and so forth. I mean, that's phenomenal. But when I look at the entire company of Pfizer and the entire company of J&J, that's where I think the difference lies for me right now, and that's why I would select both of those names rather than Moderna.
all right.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.